Welcome, everyone, and a Happy New Year. I'm Debra Eckerling. Yeah, let's all get all the happiness out of the way. Woo! Yeah, like we're going to get it out of the way and not go back to being happy in the show. Anyway, I'm Debra Eckerling, author of Your Goal Guide and creator of the Deb Method for Goal Setting Simplified. You can't reach your goals on your own. You need your people. So every week I bring in 3 of my people to really inspire, motivate, and basically say, you're choosing yourself and your goals. You can do it. We know. Let's, yay rah, amp each other up. And it is New Year's Day, and full admission, we're actually pre-recording because I didn't think it would. I know, right? GoalChatLive pre-recorded, also known as the Deb Show podcast on the Marketing Podcast Network. And so every Monday at 4 p.m., I bring in 3 guests. But like I said, it's New Year's, and I thought, not nice to make people go all camera ready on the New Year's Day. So here we are pre-recording, but it also gave me the opportunity to bring in a couple friends from the other side of the world who don't necessarily want to stay up until midnight or 2 in the morning just to be on my show. But really great panel today. We have Gordon Glenister, who is also on the Marketing Podcast Network. You're going to see a theme in a minute. And he's an influencer marketing strategist, and he's going to share more about that in a minute. Seth Goldstein, who actually brought me into the Marketing Podcast Network, who hosts Entrepreneurs Enigma, digital marketing strategist, and all around just awesome human being. Very happy to have you. And Evelyn Pacitti, who I met through our friend Jillian Forrest. Hello, Jillian. Hope you're tuning in, but maybe not, because I think it's in the middle of the night for you as well. But potentially a future member of the Marketing Podcast Network. Yeah. You never know. But I'm really excited because we've got digital marketing, digital strategy, systems. I mean, what better way to really amp up and start the new year on the right foot? I haven't said nearly enough about my guests, so I'm going to let them take a moment to share who they are and why they're so excited about this fresh new year that is upon us. So, Gordon, let's start with you. Welcome.
Yeah, welcome. Lovely to be on the show, Deborah. I'm an influencer marketing specialist, an author of influencer marketing strategy. A bit of a clue behind me with my book. In fact, I'm writing the second edition, updated version of that, such as the speed in which influencer marketing has changed. So that's going to be out in next year. So that's something I'm really looking forward to. I have 3 podcasts, actually. The Influence Global, but I've also got one that I launched this year called Growing Your Influence Online, which is very specific for the Middle East market. And it's been really great. I've had some fantastic guests from different part of the world. So we talk about cultural things. As I got actually one of the guys on there, it's called the Car Expert. He's got mega thousands of followers on Instagram, but you never see his face. So he wants to live his life in the normal environment, but he's just passionate about motor cars. So what a fascinating guest he was. And then the other one I've got is slightly similar but different as well, and that's the Membership World podcast. My background is I used to run a trade association for a number of years, and I launched the UK Association for Influencer Marketing in 2019. So I'm passionate about all things influencer marketing. There you go. There's a loads more, but I won't hog the limelight anymore. I'll let the others speak.
Well, I'm glad to have you here. I so enjoyed our conversation on your show. So happy we were able to get you here on, regular, normal-ish time to chat about goals and starting the year off on the right foot. Seth, why are you surprised? You knew alphabetically.
I just appear on the big screen like, there I am. Okay, great. Yeah, well, it's New Year's Day. I'm a little hungover.
Yeah, no. Cat's already out of the bag.
Yeah, I know. I'm not gonna play it up, but I'm Seth Goldstein. I'm a digital marketer. Been one for quite a while. Recovering journalist. I have a podcast on hiatus. That'll probably stay on hiatus. Digital Marketing Dive. It's on the Marketing Podcast Network, so you can still get it over there, but it hasn't been updated in about a year. But then the Entrepreneurs Enigma comes out twice a week. Yes, I'm not insane. Every Tuesday and Thursday, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time or Daylight Time, whatever it is, Eastern Time. And I have a newsletter as if I'm not busy enough with basic work at Goldstein Media. I have a podcast. A newsletter called Marketing Junto. It comes out Wednesdays between the two podcasts. So it's bookended by two podcasts. Then I have a newsletter that comes out around 10 o'clock in the morning on Wednesdays. So
and you are excited to be here because why?
Because you're here. It's Deb. How can you not be excited? It's Deb. I mean, Deb makes everyone excited. It's great.
Okay, this was not
that
planned.
was not planned. She did not pay me for that. It's the truth. It's Deb. You have to be excited.
But one thing I do know about Seth is he loves to bring people together and loves chatting with people. And he, like I said before, he's the one who brought me into the network. But it's nice to be part of a community of people who love to talk and develop communities. So
absolutely.
Really glad you are here. And Evelyn, the new friend in the bunch, welcome.
Hi, I'm Evelyn Pacitti, American gone European. And after 20 years of working in the semiconductor engineering industry, I have taken my engineering brain and now bring a non-fluffy approach to the wellness industry. So I look at how are you getting your strength and your energy back and balancing that by looking at systems in your life and feedback loops and variables, things like that. And I'm excited to be here just to meet new faces, chat, and really jive with a group that is not usually in my world. I don't usually get to sit down with digital marketers and influencers with a sprinkling of goals. So I'm excited. Let's do this.
Sprinkling of Deb. Love
it. Well, and this really is my joy because I love, people say, what's your favorite networking activity? And I say, it's my show, because then I get to bring people together, and it's really an enigma. Now, usually the people on my show, unless it's on purpose, do not know each other. So the fact that Seth and Gordon are both on the Marketing Podcast Network usually doesn't necessarily happen. Usually it's three strangers, but it really goes back to this. We all have things that we want to accomplish. We're all vibrant and excited about what we do. So let's all just get together. And in the meantime, we get to hang out and let other people watch. So let's start with, it's a brand new year, but let's start by reflecting a little bit. What I would love to know is, what was your biggest win in 2023? Because I feel that when we start with that as the springboard, it really brings fuel into the new year. So tell me, Seth, what was your biggest win last year?
It was actually going with Entrepreneurs Enigma twice a week instead, because I had realized that at which point, because Entrepreneurs Enigma, we have sponsorship on the network, and that's great. You know, it's a few bucks here and there. When I say a few bucks, I mean actual bucks, not bucks as in 100. You know, for that slang, I mean actual few bucks. But nothing against that. But I do it because I want to meet people. I want to meet people that I would not have a reason to reach out to otherwise, or would sound spammy otherwise. So, and then because people want to be on the podcast, so many people want to be on the podcast that I've had to double up episodes like twice a week, because otherwise things would get stale. And that was a big win for me, because it's getting out there and people know my name now. So it's good. And
you are like a recovering journalist, right?
Yeah, I get tried back in every once in a while, but
exactly. Well, I've been a freelance writer for I've always been freelance writer for my entire career. But even when I first moved to LA, it was the best way to meet people. And this was 20 plus years ago, because you always had something to talk about. You had a platform and a reason to meet people. And in the digital age, everybody has that, whether it's a live show or a podcast, or in my case, both, or a blog, because when you meet people, you have a reason to continue conversations. So
absolutely.
And all the people need to meet Seth. So now he's got a twice a week show. And so, Gordon, what was your biggest win from 2023?
I think probably I did some great work with the Technology for Marketing show, which is a big show in London. and we did the first influencer campaign there, but we did 2 strands of it. So it's the first time I'd done an event where I was using influencers to drive registrations up for an exhibition and a show. And one of those influencers did so much in terms of registration increase that she herself did as many as the other 3 that I got together. So what's really fascinating about that is that when you run a campaign with influencers, you never really know exactly how they're going to perform. But this she was called the Pretty Little Marketer. Actually, she's got over 165,000 followers on LinkedIn.
Wow!
And she just did a great video, and it just made it so authentic. Really, really good. And now we're looking at putting her forward for for almost like the face of the show. So that was one thing. But in addition to the influencer campaign, I also ran the first ever top 100 marketing influencers index, which we ran at the show as well. And the level of online traffic that we got during pre-show, during show, and after was phenomenal. It's been their best show ever. And I'm not saying it's all down to us, but bearing in mind I'm in the marketing industry, to have run 2 segments of influencer marketing, it was that probably was one of the highlights of the year, actually. So yeah.
Awesome. Evelyn, what about you? Biggest win?
It's funny being in a room full of marketers. My biggest win was actually showing up and doing marketing. Was my biggest win.
Well done, you.
Gold star.
I was going to say, where's that gold star, Deb? Where's that gold star?
Sometimes that's it. It's the little steps that get you to where you want to go. And I asked you this question. Now I'm going to throw a little curveball, because those are great professional wins, but I'd love to know what your biggest personal win from the last year was. And I'll let you think. We're all talking about our marketing and our podcasting. And last year I launched the Taste Buds with Deb podcast. So I podcast twice a week, but 2 different shows, one's being the live show and the other foodie centric. And that just has really, again, allowed me to connect with more people in the foodie space, because I love that, as well as the whole goal thing, but just a way to meet people and reach out and connect with people. And sure, some people come to me, but it also gives you the opportunity to reach out to people you really want to meet. So, and for those of you who love this format, I do a meet and greet, which is where I met Evelyn once a month for potential guests. So if you want more information about that, it will be in the show notes at thedebmethod.com/blog. So did I give you enough time to think about your personal wins for the year? Evelyn?
Well, for me, it was a big transition year. So not only did I start showing up in my business and doing the marketing, but also my family. So I have a 4-year-old son, and in the Netherlands, they start school in 4. So in September was a big transition. My husband took a small sabbatical, so he was going back to work. The kid went back to school. There's been all this shifting in my business and the family, and I feel like we've really settled into a rhythm through all those transitions, and we're all really stepping up. So for me, I take it as that's the big win of just going through that peacefully and settling in.
Oh, huge win.
Huge win.
Because winning life is a big deal, especially with so much change, which everybody's had heaps of, whether they like it or not, over the last several years. So good on you. Seth?
Mine kind of goes in the same way. My kid went in the 5th grade. He's 11. And homework is back in full force, because it wasn't during the pandemic. It was just read an hour a night, and that's all they call it. That's what they call it, homework. Now 5th grade is getting them ready for middle school, which is technically 6th grade, and so that's been a big win, is getting him used to doing homework again, which has been an uphill battle, but it's a good thing. So he's getting used to that, and much to his chagrin, he has homework every night.
And it's getting you used to homework as well.
It's exhausting. That's all I gotta say. And how they do math nowadays, I couldn't do math back in the day, let alone now. Crazy. Common Core. What the heck?
Can they not use AI, Seth? Can they not use AI tools now to do their homework? It's crazy, isn't it? And
I'm guessing that's frowned upon.
They're actually teaching them how to use ChatGPT to augment stuff. I mean, what these kids do nowadays, they do PowerPoints in like 5th grade. I'm like, I mean, granted, PowerPoint wasn't really around when I was in 5th grade. But when I was in 5th grade, I think I was still playing with Legos.
Weren't we making dioramas?
Or something like that. It was
something
not
like that.
It was not PowerPoint presentations with interactivity and YouTube embeds.
No, I made a beaver dam.
There you go.
Yeah, projects were actual physical projects. They weren't electronic.
And they weren't PowerPoint, which is like the whole thing. It's like, what?
Gordon, what about you? Personal win from last year?
So I did something a bit left field last year, and it was something that I feel quite strongly about, and I didn't think it was going to play out. And the reason I say that is because I have a real strong view that there is a lack of representation online of men over 50. And yet men over 50 have got quite a lot of liquidity. Yet if I want to go and buy a nice car or go on a holiday, all my images that I'm being seen on television advertising are people sort of half my age. So I spoke to an international model agency about this about 4 or 5 months ago. And anyway, cut a very long story short, they said, well, why don't you join us, Gordon? So they signed a modeling contract with me. And I can't tell you, I've had, because it's taken a bit of time to get it all up, and I've had a professional photo shoot. Just being in that world has been a bit of an eye opener, really. I mean, I expect nothing from it, to be honest, but I've already had 5 potential castings, and everything from airline brands.
I love it.
To hotel brands, to all sorts of things. So they're castings at the moment. That's all they are. But just going through that process, and do you know what's really fascinating? It's really helped build my my confidence. I mean, I'm quite a confident person anyway, but suddenly you enter a market that you're not so familiar with a lot of younger men. Or women or whatever. So I just feel quite proud of that, actually. And when the photos came back from the photo shoot, I thought, well, actually they do look quite good, because
you gotta share them in the Slack channel. You gotta share those suckers.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I could. That's the first time that you know about this, Seth, actually.
I know.
But yeah, so that I guess is a little bit of a personal crusade.
Yes. Gold star. Well, we all get gold stars. We're here, but I love this so much. But I think the reason is it's such a great example, because when you open your mouth, things happen. Yeah. We can think, okay, maybe not always want to open our mouths, but if there's something that's gnawing at you, or an opportunity, or something you want to do, or someone you want to meet, what's it going to hurt?
Exactly.
To reach out and see. I decided a couple of years ago I wanted to be a food writer. I am a reformed non-cook. So who in the last 6 years has really made it's a part of my brand and my business. But when I started writing for the Journal a few years ago, I said, can I write about food? That's how I became a food writer. Sure. Okay. So you just never know what opportunities are out there. And it's also, you need an introduction. You're looking for something. I had, and this just happened this week, but several months ago, I asked for a referral on something, and I finally had the conversation 2 days ago. But if you don't ask, you just don't get.
Absolutely right. Yeah.
Manifest it.
Well, I interviewed somebody on my podcast, actually, a great guy. I don't know if you guys know BNI. It's a global network organization, and I interviewed the founder, Ivan Meisner, and he's a really difficult guy to get hold of. And it was a fantastic podcast, actually, really great episode. And I've never ever forgotten the principle of BNI, which is give as gain. If you give something unconditionally to somebody, your time or some advice or some help, without wanting something back in return, not least will you get good karma, but people will see you as the guy to go to for digital marketing, wellness, goal setting, because we're part of that ecosystem where we're helping each other. So why would we not want to do the same back? And you also get this sort of law of reciprocity. If I kept giving you opportunities and leads, Debra, you would do it anyway, but there'll be people that would feel that sense of, whoa, how can we help Gordon back, and it just happens. And I'm fascinated with what happened during COVID that brought a lot of us actually together in a way that has still remained, that sense of community, that sense of support for each other. I mean, I don't know what you felt, but when we were sort of locked in for so long, the first thing people were doing at exhibitions and conferences were wanting to hug each other because they've been deprived of something. And suddenly that was now back, so we were able to do it, and it meant a lot, that human connection. I mean, we talk about business to business and business to consumer, but I always think isn't it H to H, human to human?
Which is kind of funny. I interviewed the guy, just came out.
I knew this was coming.
Back. This will come out like last week, if we're talking about future week, whatever. At the time of this recording today, I just had released the thing with Brian Kramer, who coined the phrase human to human. Wrote the book on human to human. And I just had him on my podcast.
Oh, great. Well done.
Yeah, Brian and Courtney were on the show. My goodness, I think a year and a half ago now. But
yeah, he's fun. They're fun.
Well, and I know them from when I worked social media marketing world. So Courtney and we just started chatting in an elevator and walking.
That's not shocking one bit, Deb.
No, not at all. And as much as I love in person, I still have to give a shout out for all the virtual, because everybody I've met in the last 3-4 years has been through connections and conversations and introductions. And speaking of which, Seth, I've got someone else for you who I met a couple weeks ago. I promised an intro, but I knew I was going to see you. So giving you a heads up here. This is how we meet and connect. And I think someone said this a couple of weeks ago. It used to be you would meet people in person and then connect online. Now it's the opposite. You
absolutely
connect online and then continue the conversation also online, but then eventually, hopefully, in person as well.
I will not take a one-on-one with somebody in person until we at least chat online first. I found out that when I don't know how I used to do this. I'd show up to a place, I'd get ghosted. Now, if I get ghosted on Zoom, it's like, I'll go, I wasted 5 minutes, not an hour drive back and forth. Absolutely. So I'm a big proponent is like, let's meet first, let's chat, let's get to know each other. Hey, let's get coffee. Boom. So.
But it's way more productive, isn't it? It's way more productive in terms of our time. I mean, you can get so many more Zoom calls in the course of a week. Whereas when you used to go out and visit somebody, I'm not saying that wasn't good, but it's as you say, it's an hour's drive or a 2 hour whatever, and then back again. And sorry, Evelyn, you were going to say something.
Yeah, Evelyn.
I was just saying, but that's a byproduct of the fact that we work in a digital media, that we work online. Coming from the engineering world into here and still having the majority of my community still working in the office, my husband's very concerned that some of my best friends, I've never seen their knees.
There have been some people that I've met in person, like only this past week at a holiday party, and the guy turned out to be 6'5". And I'm like,
that's the first thing you do, isn't it? When you come off, you've known them for ages, and it's because at the moment we're all the same height, aren't we?
Okay, remember the telephone? The telephone.
Yeah, like the rotary dial.
Exactly, where you couldn't even see the people before you met them.
I know.
Oh, yes, of course.
How bizarre is it to think?
I know my kid doesn't know that. My kid only knows Zoom.
That's just another conversation. It makes my eyes roll. I know I was lucky enough because I worked in publishing as it went from the analog to the digital world. So being able to see that transition when most of us on this call went to school. Social media didn't exist.
Not at all.
It was so much better. I'm sorry, it was so much better.
Well, it was, but we also have to look at the gifts that have come with technology, which is the ease of meeting people. And what Gordon was saying, I used to tell people, one networking event a week is a great realistic goal when it's in person. Nowadays, 3, one mixer, one education, one one-on-one, all virtual, and it takes the same amount of time as it would take you to drive, park. Let's not forget parking, and go to an event and come home. So we have to look at the gifts. So from this conversation, I want to know who's on your wish list to meet in 2024.
I would love to meet Gordon in person, because he's probably really tall in real life. But probably not in 2024, but eventually we'll see each other in real life.
We really will. Yeah. I mean, I did a big highlight for me this year was doing a keynote at the podcast show. And I wanted to try and encourage as many of my podcast friends to come over, because
it's a little far.
It was a massive show. And hopefully it would be an opportunity for us all to meet, because it was it was just great experience actually to be there. But yeah, I mean, I don't think I've even met Jason.
No, I've met Jason once. He's larger in life, personality wise. He is.
I get that, but I haven't, and I've known him way before the podcast actually, because obviously we're similar in the influencer space. But no, I don't think I've met him, but we will, I'm sure, and it'll be an epic moment. You feel like you've known each other for years, of course, don't you?
People goals are always amazing. So Evelyn, who do you want to meet this year?
I don't think I know who I want to meet yet. I'm really in this phase of expansion and meeting all these new connections. So I think it'll be interesting to ask the question at the end of next year, who did I meet that I didn't expect that really changed things? And I think it feels very open for me right now.
One of the things I do, I call it event outcome optimization. So helping people and companies that are going to events make a plan for who they want to meet, what they want to learn. And I posed that question. I said, you can look at, the speakers as sponsors, or you just come up with the type of people, what are the titles of the people you want to meet? And we met, I think, the day before when I did my last meet and greet, and you jumped on in. So I think that say yes attitude is really going to help you as you expand and get more involved.
I would love to get Annie P. Ruggles and Deb in the same room with me and give them both big hugs, because I met you through Annie.
Right. Oh,
and I owe you a big hug. So, and she gets a hug too. So I owe you a big hug.
Okay. Well, I'm not traveling yet, so
all right. Well, I'll come to you then.
It might have to be a 2025 goal, but it's a good
fine.
goal.
We'll expand it an extra year. There we go.
But I like the idea of meeting people that you don't know in real life, because it's, these are our people. But what is that dream guest though? Who's the dream podcast guest? You all didn't answer the question, so I'm going to ask it in a different way. And Evelyn, you're just starting out, so you can really say whatever you want.
Yeah, I need to dream.
So I've had some of my dream podcast guests.
I'm going to say what the others are thinking. I would love to have the founder of Gymshark on my show. This is a 23-year-old guy that founded this amazing, what is now become a multi-billion brand, and really just has embodied influencers by using fitness trainers that look good but actually are great ambassadors for his brand. But it's incredible how that brand has grown phenomenally. So he would be a great guest. I have tried actually I think I've tried to work up the line, so get like a second or a third person there. But yeah, somebody like him would be great.
I'm I'm trying to think, because I had Guy Kawasaki on my program. Shockingly, that was a thrill, and it was not expected. Who would I want on? That's a good question.
Well, did you come up with someone, Evelyn?
Well, I can tell you the type of people that I want.
Yeah.
So I run Engineering Serenity, where I talk about explore different work-life balance designs. So what is it like? We dig deep into people's burnout stories. What is their spark? What are their strategies for getting with it? And what does that blend look like? And I would really like to step into people who are working in corporate, whether it's executives or people in the office, not just people who are running their own business, but people who are working within the 9 to 5. And what does that blend look like when you're still sort of locked in the system a bit more? That's a place that I would really like to expand to in my people.
Okay, do we give you enough time, Seth? Or are you still thinking?
I'm actually looking through my LinkedIn right now, saying, like,
okay, well, I'll share one.
I'll tell you about the people that have been successful entrepreneurs who are now giving back. So maybe Bill Gates. I'd love to have Bill Gates on the show. I think that'd be kind of cool.
See, I knew you would come
or
up
Mackenzie
with one.
Scott, you know, who's
Gary V. Or Gary V.
He's a little. I've met Gary V before. Nice guy in person. He's a little. I think it would be off the rails because we're both very high energy. So,
and this from the person who wants to put himself, me, and Annie P. Ruggles in a room together.
Oh, that'd be You're
calling someone else.
That'd be a good podcast. That'd be a good trifecta. The three of us on a podcast.
That would be something to explore in the new year. I noticed, and this is just this is the first person on my list because I'm making my list of food people who I want to get on Taste Buds with them. This one. It's more organic. I meet people and I find a topic, or I have a topic and I seek out people. But Dr. Ruth is the new loneliness ambassador for New York.
Love it.
And I'm claiming it right now. I want to get her on this show on a panel, but I also would love to interview her for Taste Buds with Deb. So
you just said something interesting there, Deborah, because you talked about a panel. I mean, we're on a panel now. And
yes.
I'd like to think about that for next year. I've done it a couple of times. I've done 120 episodes and I've done a couple of panels, but I think they really work, as I do a lot of them in the physical environment all of the time. And just because of what you just said a few minutes ago, I think certainly one of my goals for next year is going to actually not be restricted to a single guest. I also think because a lot of agencies approach me, and the problem with that is that they're all telling the same pretty much story. So I think what I might actually think about doing is getting them to bring one of their top brands along or their top influencers, so they can then really pull out the story of what we've got together. And as we're all sparring off of each other here, I think that makes for more interesting conversation, actually.
Yeah.
Well, I love this format. And I started out, this show started in the spring of 2020. It was my first pandemic project. And at the end of the year, I wanted to have a holiday party. And how do you do it when no one can leave the house? Well, you bring people who don't know each other and have a conversation. So my first Start 2021 Now party, which I did in December 2020, I brought together a bunch of people who didn't know each other. And I loved it so much that I was doing one panel a month and then 2 panels a month. And then by the spring, I'm like, you know what, this is my format. Because
amazing how that happens.
Well, especially when you love people, it's a great way to bring people together. But the way my show evolved within the first year into this is just my first 2 episodes was just me talking.
It
lasted 20 minutes, and no.
Mine don't exist anymore. The Entrepreneurs Enigma ones that started out, there was 10 of them. There was me just pontificating about entrepreneurship, and I'm like, this is boring. Now I'm at 200 episodes minus this 10, so I'm at 200 episodes. But I really am past 200 because I had 10 that don't exist anymore. I'm sure they do somewhere on the internet because everything escapes the internet. But literally, I was like, I'm going back to my journalism roots and interviewing people. It's going back to an interview show. And now finally, I'm going to have an IP lawyer come on who is not exactly an entrepreneur. I've been very diligent about saying you have to be an entrepreneur or an entrepreneur to talk, be on the show. He had a good angle about let's talk about how to protect your brand as an entrepreneur. I'm like, all right, you're on the show.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing, because as long as you never lose sight of the mission and goal of your audience, then actually the guests that fulfill that are all good to go, aren't they? Really, I mean, I've had a lawyer that specializes in the influence community a couple of times. I've had one from America and one from London, and it was a really interesting insights because we were able to pull out the various contracts that people have and why it's important to make sure that everything is clear before a campaign starts, because if it isn't, there's a lot of heartache afterwards and it's very difficult to unpick. So that's really fascinating. So I can see in the entrepreneurial world how important that is when it comes to IP, because otherwise you could just have a great idea ripped off, couldn't you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So that happened. Yes, there's a call I had yesterday with him and I was like, that's perfect, we're gonna have you on.
You just said one of my favorite phrases, the mission and the motto. So the D in the DEB method is determine your mission, because you can't get what you want unless you know what that is. And so I ask, and everybody knows mine is goal setting simplified, because changing your life is challenging enough. The instructions need to be easy. So I made them easy. And it goes with this podcast. It's we talk about business and personal and everything in between, but it's really about developing a community and inspiration and motivation to pursue your goals. The Hey Spuds with Deb is bite-sized conversations about food, cooking, and community. Again, you can go so many places with that when you know who you are and what you're about. So what are you about? Evelyn, I'm going to go to you first. Do you have a mission and or motto?
My motto is that serenity has a price, but it's always worth it.
Ooh. I like that.
I love that.
And my mission is that in many ways, I want to shake up the conversation of what it means to work, how we work, how we design our days, how we think about the flow of a day, and how that works. And it's a fun conversation to have when we make our own rules and we run our own business, but I really want to have the conversation within corporate. So you're working, you still need factories, you still need people to be doing. How do you bring that flexibility and that freedom and that movement and that conversation within that space? That's my crazy mission.
Oh, I love that.
I love it. Well, and mine is to change goal culture in and out of the workplace. So we're definitely in alignment with that, because it's about claiming the life you want and doing what you need to do to make it happen.
Yeah.
Seth, mission and motto?
My mission with Entrepreneurs Enigma especially is to just make everyone know that it's an uphill battle, but you can, everyone's gone through it. Like everyone's overnight success was 10 years in the making.
At least.
Oh my! It's like everyone's like it's been 10 years. I'm like it doesn't seem that way. It's because you're only seeing the fruits of our labor. But they're like I was literally going to the food bank to get food half the time because not me per se, but like these guests are now really well known. During the struggle, it's they only know, you only see what they want you to see. You don't necessarily see the struggle. So my thing is always like what's the best thing about being an entrepreneur? What's the worst thing about being an entrepreneur? I never really give out my 3 questions on the podcasts, but those are 2 of them. I'm not giving it the 3rd one. That's my pride and joy. But it's really the answers I get are amazing. They straddle from the mundane, it's freedom. And it's it. And it's that time. Like, give me some more to this, because that's more than one word. And then also like people like imposter syndrome and all that. And it's just showing that like even these big known people like Guy Kawasaki had imposter syndrome at one point. I was like, who am I? I'm like, you're Guy Kawasaki, for crying out loud.
And Gordon?
So because I do a lot around influence, that dovetails into personal branding as well, which is a big part of my influencer and personal branding. So, what I want to try and do is help people create the connections that count. So everything I do is all about the quality rather than the quantity. You know, you can go to an exhibition and conference and pick up loads and loads of business cards, whereas you can actually have an executive VIP dinner with 12 people because they've been curated, they have an interest in the subject matter, and they're highly targeted and relevant to your needs. You've got 3 hours of time with them over that dinner in a social environment. Everybody gets to speak. So I've been doing executive dinners for nearly 20 years, and I think it's still the most powerful way to bring like-minded people together. Alcohol helps sometimes, but generally people feel at ease. And if it's well moderated and you've got a little bit of a report that you send afterwards, everybody will share way more than they ever would on an exhibition booth, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
And I just find if you take time for people, you listen and you listen to what their real challenges are. I mean, my sister taught me some really great things, actually. She's actually a listening coach, can you believe? And she talks about an interruption as being an assault on the brain. And the reason I say that is because so many people, particularly entrepreneurs, and you all know this, Seth, that we get excited about things. We want to jump in. But when somebody is in a train of thought and they're really trying to convey a message or a challenge or something exciting, and you actively listen to them, you are doing so much to build that human connection. Whereas actually, if you interrupt them and push them off balance, you know, they're more likely to forget what they were saying. And I always say when you do a presentation to somebody, they may not remember everything that you've said, but they will remember how you made them feel.
Yeah.
And it is a really powerful statement because it's so true, isn't it? Where our brains are consumed with so much content coming at us at every angle. Yet when we listen to people, we take time out, and we are empathetic. That's the firm way to build solid connection.
So in short, your motto is to help people make solid connections.
Yeah, create the connections that count. Yeah, that was the.
That sounds a little better.
That's the sort of alliteration of the C's, yeah. But also, I want to make people feel good about the way that they are. You know, I think, you know, Seth, you mentioned imposter syndrome. I had that writing my book. Many people have it in business. They don't always share it. But I mean, this has not been a particularly easy year for a lot of company bosses. You know, it's. I mean, some may have had a good year, but believe me, there are a lot of other companies that are teetering on the edge. So and how do you share that information with people? You know, sometimes when you're a CEO, you've got to take that on your shoulders. You've got to, you know, that everybody else's mortgages and rent are based on the decisions that you take. But realizing that those people, those team members have been with you right from the start. They've supported you through thick and thin. Christmas is a great way, a new year, to look back and reward those individuals, even if it's in a very small way. You know, when I was a CEO of a trade body, I would do little things throughout the course of the year to make people feel good about them. And there's so much lack of recognition in companies, and you forget the two most important things a CEO can say are thank you and well done, and they're not used nowhere near enough.
We were talking about this, I think, before we started recording. I talk about goals year round.
Yeah.
You need to be good to people year round. If there's something that you do that you love, and you just kind of like own it, you know, live in it, especially if what you do, what you love really fuels you. Whereas I like to say, when you love what you do, it shows. When you don't love what you do, it really, really shows. So why not love what you do and spread that joy in all that you do? Which again ties back to my love of the mission and motto. A lot of people, they do, what are your 3 words for the year, or your word for the year, or whatever. What is, I you could do 1 to 3 words. So what are going to be your guiding principles for the year to come? Seth?
Let's do this.
Oh,
Yeah, it's 3. Okay, that's 3. Okay.
amazing. I love it. What about you, Evelyn?
Guiding principle feels different than word because the word already hit me, which was wander.
Ooh. Wander. I love wander as a guiding principle.
It's good.
Yeah. I was like, does it
Amazing.
fit as a guiding principle? Yeah, it does.
Well, in Deb world, everything counts. So
Deb
yes.
world. I love that. More than you know, I love that.
Well, it's true though. All goals count. All effort counts. What you were saying before, sometimes it takes decades or so to get where you want to go. But if you don't get started, you're never going to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And Gordon, what would be your guide word?
I think my guide word is be persistent. Be persistent, rather. Be persistent. Because so often I always say a no is just a delayed yes. So in other words, if you are persistent, and I don't mean, drowning down the potential prospect, but I do mean that don't give up. Was it, I think Colonel Culpeper, I'm sure he said he actually knocked on like 1,000 doors before somebody bought his chickens or something. There's some great stories around.
Are you talking about Colonel Sanders?
Colonel Sanders.
Culpeper. I don't know who Culpeper was. I assumed that maybe that was his real name, and then
that's right. That's actually what I was talking about.
That's a Britishism.
It's a Britishism, yeah. But no, it's a fair point that I'm making here. That actually, it's very easy to get thwarted by somebody doesn't want what you've offered. They just don't want it now. So I think be persistent is my guiding principle.
Bravo.
Awesome. Well, I love this conversation. I want to make sure you all, I want to give you all a chance to gift goals. So we've got your guiding principles. We have what you're aspiring to create, to find, to meet in the new year. But what are some goals our audience can do today, tonight, tomorrow to really make 2024 like the best year ever? So, Seth, do you have a goal to gift?
Yes, it's also a way to live. Just get started. Like a lot of people are like, "How do you get started on a podcast?" Just get started. I mean, do a little planning. But look at how Deb did it. She started out as a solo talking to the talking face thing, and she moved to a interview to a panel. I started off not digital marketing dive. That's the other one that's on hiatus. I started the Entrepreneurs Enigma as a talking head, and I moved to an interview podcast. Just get started. You can always pivot. If you don't start, you don't get anywhere.
Absolutely. So, Gordon, what goals do you have to gift?
I would encourage any of your listeners or viewers to do a personal brand assessment, to review. In fact, I've got a free tool that somebody, if they want to go and have a look at on my website, GordonGlenister.com. The reason I say that is because it allows you to reflect on a number of things about how you are perceived online, how you could. So before you start to think about a strategy, you could just do like an assessment or an audit. That would be my gift.
Love it.
I love that too. And Evelyn?
So for me, I want to gift you measurability and check-in. So you're starting the new year, new you, beginning of the year. You've got all these goals that you want for the year. Pick one of them and say, what's that metric? And on a scale of 1 to 10, where am I on that metric? Now, here's the thing. Go into your calendar and set a reminder in maybe 2 months from now to check that metric. Ask yourself the question again, and then set it in another 2 months. So today, set your metric, measure it, then put it in your calendar every 2 months till the end of the year. And just that might be enough to keep that goal rolling for all of 2024.
Great.
She's by far the biggest block at the bottom.
I love it. Well, I'm all about goal setting, productivity, and community. So absolutely. So let's kind of put them all together, do a personal brand assessment. I would say if you haven't refined your mission and motto or taken a look at it, think about what you are all about, because that really is the barometer for everything that you're going to accomplish. So do the assessment, claim that mission and motto, get started, find that metric, and then check in on yourself every 2 months. And if you want to check in even more, you can join the Write On Online Facebook community, which is facebook.com/group/Write On Online. So every day I have a different question. What are your networking goals for the week? What are your goals? Blog share day, Toot Your Horn Thursday, which is like my favorite, Photo Friday, and then weekend plans. So it's always an opportunity to not just share what you're doing, but to connect with like minds and help uplift. Do you remember way back? So it used to be pages. No, it was groups on Facebook, and then they merged them into pages. And now groups are the big thing again. So Write On Online started that way. And when it was more of a page than a group, I would have people, they would either share their goals for the week or report on their goals, but rarely would they do both. So this gives people in the group setting an opportunity to, pick and choose. If you had a great week and you want to share that, wonderful. If you survived and made pizza and that was your big win for the week, it's food. So I'm good on that as well. But it's keeping track of your wins. Okay, I'm adding that at the bonus goal, is keep a list of your wins, even like every day, every week, write down 1 to 3 wins. So that way, when you're feeling discouraged, you could say, but look, I did that. And that will give you the motivation to keep going.
Love it.
And to add to the wins, really do it. Because I haven't had it in my book, but I never write it because I was like, that's not a big enough win to write down. Like I need it to be epic. Like keep track of the little wins, the 2 to 3. I love that.
And it can be as simple as I survived, or I remember to pick up my kid today from art class, or whatever it is. I saw in someone's feed today, never fall asleep. If you're going to sit on the back of the bus, don't fall asleep because you might miss your stop ever again. So,
but actually, Debra, I just want to add to that. Because one of the problems with so many businesses and growth in human development is self-limiting beliefs. We are our own worst enemies. We have greater power to achieve way more than we do. It's because we've been conditioned to society, which says, as you've just said, Evelyn, oh, well, I won't really share about that because that's not big, and then we see somebody else, because we're triggered by what we see online as well, aren't we? We think, oh my God, I was quite happy with that, and now look at such and such has done. I mean, can you imagine what it's like, me in the influencer space, how triggered I can be with, I've managed to get to 2,000 followers, and then I've got people around me that have got 1 million, or but you have to take in things into context, because otherwise it can be quite socially damaging actually for you.
I was doing a workshop last night, and I had that exact question. What do you do when someone else is so far ahead of you? And that was my answer. Be happy for them, but also be proud of yourself and keep going.
Keep going.
Yeah.
I was really encouraged hearing, Seth, that, for example, your podcast that has 200 episodes, the first 10 you threw out. So I was like, so the cringeworthy stuff that I'm sort of like, some of it I'm like posting, I'm 7 episodes in, and I'm like, oh, is that okay? Is it too much? It's like, it's nice to know that even people who have multiple podcasts and have been doing this, they're like, it's okay. We can rebuild. We can go. Just start.
I've had too many false starts on podcasts. I mean, I've been podcasting since 2010. And they're out there, and some of them are really, oh my God.
Yeah.
But just get started. And I say, leave them up there. The only reason I got rid of the other ones is they didn't fulfill the mission. of where it was going. But even the podcast with the interviews between episode, what was 11, which is now was now 1, compared to episode 200, are night and day different. You know, I could do it with my eyes closed now. Before, I was stumbling all over the place. It's just different.
And when you're doing it, if you have fun, if you love what you do, again, that's really the best measurement that you're being successful, because you're enjoying it, and that enthusiasm is going to leak out onto other people.
And you shouldn't be put off by the numbers of listeners as well, because actually, as I said earlier, it's the quality of the listener and it's the relevance of the listener. You know, if you're doing a podcast that's much more, you know, in the public eye, it's much more open and wide. Whereas I have quite a niche one, you know, on influencer marketing. You know, there isn't, you know, and I could have been disillusioned by some of the people that were there, but the reality is that the people that listen to my podcast are interested in influencer marketing, and that's my target audience. So in a way, it's all about relevance.
Absolutely. No, I'm with you 100%, and I get more people watching than listening, and every now and then I'm like, you know, it would be great if more people have been listening to the podcast, but you can't replicate this. I mean, you could try an audio, because my podcast is the audio version of this, but loving what you do and owning it is really the key for personal, I believe, and professional success. And so this is my gift to those who are tuning in, whether you're watching, I was going to say live, the recording live or the replay, or listening to this on the podcast network. Claim some goals for yourself, but not just as goals, claim them as wins. What are you going to want to celebrate a year from now? And start celebrating early, because that's going to help you get there. Friends, what a wonderful conversation. Where can people learn more about you? Gordon.
They can learn more about me. I'm on all the social channels, so LinkedIn, Instagram. Because I've got an unusual name, it's quite easy to find me, which helps. But GordonGlenister.com is where everything resides.
Excellent. And Seth?
Let's see. EntrepreneurSenigma.com is the podcast. You can pretty much go to SethGoldstein.me and find me from there everywhere else. I mean, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm everywhere. It's just I'm not as consistent with the naming conventions as I should be. So, but you can find me. It's, you know, and if you want to cheat, you can go to SethGoldstein.id, which apparently is a suffix now, and literally takes you to a landing page, and you just can click on wherever I am. So.
Wait, so does Goldstein Media still exist for you, or is that
oh yeah, that's the bread and butter. So Goldstein, I forgot you mentioned. Find me at Goldstein Media.
Thank you. And Evelyn?
You can find me at measurablewellness.com. There has all of the links and all the connections to me, and my favorite social media platform is LinkedIn. I'm Evelyn Pacitti.
And you can find most of our podcasts if you go to marketingpodcast.net. You can find the Deb Show podcast. You can find Entrepreneurs Enigma and Influencer Marketing Show.
So right? What it is?
That's what it is. Gordon?
Which one? No, influence the global podcast.
Influence the global podcast on marketingpodcast.net. And I am at what?
He's got so many. It's like, which one's on what?
Exactly.
I am at the Deb Method everywhere. And if you go to thedebmethod.com/blog, I will have all of these links, as well as everybody's LinkedIn profiles. So if you're tuning in and you want to connect with one and or all of us, just send a note saying that this is where we met, and connect, because let's all expand our networks so we can reach those goals with a even stronger community behind us. Thank you all so much for today. What final thought do you want to leave people with? Gordon, final thought?
Yeah, just believe in yourself, I would say, and give everything a go. Just that sense of self-belief.
Awesome. And Evelyn, what final thought do you want to leave everybody with today?
There is more flexibility in life than we give it credit for. So take the moments to explore the boundaries as well.
Mm.
Nice.
Mine's simple. Happy New Year.
Very good.
That's good. It's appropriate. It's timely. I love it. Thank you. And so thank you all again for joining me today, Gordon, Seth, and Evelyn. And thank you for spending part of your New Year's with us in choosing yourself and your goals. Again, I'm Debra Eckerling. You can find me every Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube, or you can subscribe to At the Deb Method, which you can listen to on your favorite podcast platform. And if you need a little bit of extra push with your goals, you can grab a copy of your goal guide, a roadmap for setting, planning, and achieving your goals, or reach out to me so I can help you create that life you want. So again, Happy New Year. I wish you all only the best for a wonderful and prosperous 2024. It's all in your hands. So go on out there, go for it, because we know you can do it.